What's up, nerds? Welcome to another live stream repair. We've got 3.5 HomePods sent in today for repairs. We'll start off with Steven's that's got death farts. Then we'll move on to Richard's with no power. And then we've got John's with no power. And then we've got Tor's amplifier board from their HomePod with some sound issues. So let's go ahead and jump right on into this, yeah? Okay. So, right off the bat, we've got Steven's HomePod with death farts. So let's go ahead and plug that in and take a brief listen for some symptoms here. Oh, I forgot to plug the power cable into my kilowatt over here. There we go. And we've got, oh, we don't care about the power draw because the power's on. Now, with death farts, the reason why those death farts occur, and actually, just to back up a sec here, what are death farts? If you didn't know, death farts are pretty much what most people call the HomePod behavior when they produce a loud buzzing tone followed by an unexpected restart. The reason why a HomePod may death fart is when their filtering capacitors start to go bad and allow more DC voltage than what's allowed through the amp and into your subwoofer speaker. Now, past a certain point, the amplifier actually detects this DC offset and will force this death fart and restart behavior, I think in an attempt to save itself or perhaps just indicate to the user that it's experiencing hardware issues. But nonetheless, that's what death farts are, and that's why they happen. Now, one of the side symptoms of death farts and these capacitors going bad is a popping sound when you first wake it up or when it goes back into standby mode. Now, popping when it goes in and out of standby every 10 or so minutes by itself isn't necessarily a sign of any problems because there still seems to be some sort of delay on occasion on these capacitors filtering that DC voltage before it goes through the amp into the speaker. That brief moment where it's got a little bit of DC voltage will produce that popping sound. Now, this is why I usually tell people, if all you've got is popping, don't worry about getting it fixed. It's only if you've got bass issues where you would want to look into getting it fixed, because unlike a brief sudden spike in DC voltage as things turn on or off that does get filtered, a brief DC spike isn't going to cause any harm, whereas a constant DC voltage during operation is going to cause damage to your speaker and your amplifier. So enough rambling, let's go ahead and listen for how loud of a pop we get when we unplug this from power. That's pretty significant. So let's go ahead and get this taken apart. Before we do any repairs to this, we're going to get the amplifier out, power it on the bench here, connected to our multimeter, and we just want to confirm what we guess our problem here to be, which is too much DC offset causing those death farts. So let's jump right on into this. We're going to start by prying this top off. And I keep saying pry, but really all we're doing is slicing through that adhesive layer until this top pops off on its own. If you try to pry it off, that's when you end up scratching and breaking it. So we'll just keep going around that a few times until it pops off all on its own, just like that. then we can take the screws out, the T6 screws for the display. And yep, pretty much all of the screws that you'll be touching for the majority of repairs are all the same T6 size. They are different lengths, so you can't mix your screws up, but for each step of the process, they're all the same too. Okay. Oh, let's go ahead and fix this adhesive here. Okay, now for our frame. That ribbon cable off. Expose our screws. Okay, it's time for the pry. Nice. Let's get the subwoofer. let's check and make sure that it hasn't been damaged too much by our excess DC voltage. The voice coil in there looks great. Feels nice and smooth. And it smells fantastic. So, we will carry on with our disassembly here. Get these plastic rings out next. Work on that power supply. And last but not least, that amplifier. Amp is out. So, can you spot an issue? I see a problem. That right there is broken. That is a 10 ohm resistor, and this we see sometimes blow up like this when we've got too much DC voltage going through, because these filtering capacitors start to get worse and worse at doing their job over time. But everything else on the board looks okay. If anyone was curious, we have a date code on our diode of 1720K. Quite an old one in here. But nevertheless, we are going to replace that diode there, regardless of its relevance to any of the issues here. It's completely irrelevant, but we replace that power diode on every single repair just to hopefully prevent the most common no power issue from occurring. It's just a little bonus that we do for all of the HomePod repairs here. And also we see that diode just fail so often. We don't know for sure why, but we've got our suspicions, so we just replace it every time. Alright, enough blabbing. Before we do any repairs, like I said, let's go ahead and power this board up and see how much DC offset this thing is spitting out. And you hear me say DC offset a lot. You can, for the most part, interchange that term with just simply DC voltage. DC offset, very simply, is just how far away from 0 volts you are. So it's an absolute number. It doesn't care if it's positive or negative. Your DC offset is X millivolts. So the farther away from 0 millivolts DC that you are, the worse off you are. In a perfect world, you want 0 millivolts, but the world isn't perfect and electronics are far from it. So the general word around the audio industry is around 50 millivolts of DC offset is about the upper limit of the acceptable amount before you start impacting audio performance and speaker performance. And it's around a couple hundred millivolts of DC offset where you start to risk damaging components. It's around 2 to 3 volts DC where you actually see the death fart behavior occur. So, let's power this up before we do any repairs and confirm that we've got excess DC voltage being let through. And then we'll replace those filtering capacitors, we'll replace that resistor, and then we'll replace the power diode. Okay, holy moly. We've got $420 millivolts of offset and rapidly growing. So most definitely our filtering capacitors have let go, and they're just going to continue to get worse and allow this number to continue to grow as they warm up. So, let's get those filters replaced. Let's get that resistor replaced. Let's get that diode replaced. And then we'll see if we've gotten rid of our DC offset. Here we go. Let's get those bad caps out of here. Okay. Fresh flux on the board for some low mount solder on those pads, and then we'll put the new caps on. Hey Martin, welcome to the stream. Alright, check out these cool moves. Ba-ba-booey! How's that looking? Oh boy. Those look great. Alright, let's move our focus over to our roasted resistor over here. Look at that guy. What's he doing? He's looking pretty crispy. Alright, let's put a little flux on there. Try to pull this old one off. And to protect our little plastic subwoofer connector there, I've got a little piece of aluminum backplate from an iPad mini display that I've cut up and bent to shape. That will slide right over this tall capacitor and that little plastic connector right next door. So we'll go ahead and get those on there. And we will go to town on that resistor. Ah, easy peasy. That is in pieces. Nice. Alright, we've got our new resistor here. This is a 10 ohm, I think it's like a 1 watt resistor. I've got the part number up on my website if you were doing this yourself. Alright. A little more flux on there. We'll drop that new resistor down. And let's go ahead and reflow that into place. shouldn't take as much heat since I had a little bit of low melt solder still left over on my tip there. Yeah, there we go. Easy peasy. And look at that. Our plastic connector there is unfazed. Now I want to go ahead and make those joints on this resistor here a little prettier. So we're just going to touch that up with our iron. It's no better, but the point is it's nice and solid on there. It's not going anywhere. Alright, last but not least, we've got that diode there to take care of. This has nothing to do with death farts or DC offset, but like I was saying earlier, this part fails so often, and our best guess is there's a bad batch of these, but without certainty, we will use precaution. And it only takes $1 in parts and an extra minute of our time to replace this, so we do it every time. Easy peasy. We've got different piles of dead diodes here. I should say, really, we've got two different piles of diodes. We've got the used ones that we've replaced preemptively, and then we've got the ones that have already failed that we've replaced. And one day we'll go through on stream and count all of them and document each date code on each of them. We'll do that soon here, because we've got a few hundred sitting there. Alright. Cooling this board off here for just a sec, and then we will give it a test. Alright, let's see what we've got. Drum roll, please. Look at that. We're sitting at around probably 3 to around 4, 4 millivolts of DC offset there. So without that DC offset, we've got no reason for death farts. So we've got this all fixed up. Let's get this pod put back together. And then we'll move on to the next one. This is the part of the stream where I make some sort of threat against your HomePod if you don't leave a like. Leave a like if you like this stuff. Or your HomePod will suffer from death farts too. How about that? How about that? And if you don't have a HomePod, then you will suddenly find yourself with one, but it will be farting. Alright, amp is in, ribbon cable connected. Let's plug the power supply in there and screw it down. Alright, well, Eric gets a pass then. Everyone else, though. basket time. Oh yeah, like I mentioned yesterday, in a strange coincidence, the one HomePod that we had in yesterday for no power repairs, we diagnosed the shorted diode as causing it from, or preventing it from powering on, but when we got it put back together, it would do exactly what yours was doing. And it turned out what appeared to happen was when it was on its way to us, the top of the HomePod ended up directly in contact with the side of the box, and it must have gotten banged around quite a bit, but it ended up pushing the top of the HomePod in on itself enough to start breaking the contacts underneath this board here. And I only barely noticed one of the corners of it was poking up a little bit. So it wasn't super easy to spot, but if you've got another one of these displays to try, I would definitely try that. If you already had this HomePod set up with your home, you can actually power the thing on without a display connected, just the logic board, and then plug it into power, wait a few minutes for it to connect and boot up and everything. And if you don't have another display to test, you can just test without one and see if it still connects and plays music fine for you. And then at least you'll know for sure if your display is dead or not. Oh, sorry, bumped you guys. Yeah, it can take a few minutes when you first plug it in for it to appear as an AirPlay target, but it's a good and easy test. Easy enough to try. Doesn't require any extra parts. I've heard different amounts quoted and charged for people depending on where they live for Apple's refurbished replacement out of warranty fee. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You're really just buying an out of warranty HomePod. But I've heard anywhere from on the low end of $289 to the high end of $349. But I'm pretty sure for the majority of people it's been like $249, $249 to $289, I think. I have personally not gotten that far with Apple because, well, I'm just not going to pay them for an out of warranty replacement. Oh yeah, Eric, and one other thing. If you haven't, just double check and make sure that, well, if you've been messing with this for a while, I'm sure you have, but I'm going to mention it just for due diligence, but make sure that your main ribbon cable that connects to the amplifier board is correctly installed and locked into place, because that can cause similar symptoms too. I doubt it's your problem. Like you said, it sounds like you've been going at this one for a while. So if that was the case, you probably would have come across it. Oh, also one other thing. This one, Eric, you should look out for too. This behavior can also be caused by physical damage to your microphone board right here. Specifically, actually this one's got that damage that I'm talking about here. But if you look at the top of the microphone board here, what happens is when people are unscrewing the amplifier, the handle of their screwdriver rubs up against this mic board here towards the top, and it breaks this chip off right here. And that will also cause similar issues to what you've described in our Discord. So inspect that microphone board. It's also, the microphone board is also one of those parts that you can operate and test the HomePod without being connected. So easy peasy. Welcome, new watchers. Welcome, welcome. All right. Let's see if we've got Steven's HomePod all ready to go. We'll plug it into power, smack it around a few times, and there you go. Sounds perfect. No popping and no flash photography. All right. With Stevens all taken care of, we've now got Richards with, I believe, no power. And I also believe Richard tried taking theirs apart and stopped at a certain point and decided they should send it in to us. So, let's snatch that. It does feel lighter than a normal pod, so I'm expecting, yep. Wow, he got quite far in there. Ah, that's right. He ended up accidentally stripping one of the screws for the power supply in there. So that's going to be an interesting challenge to try and get out. But it's a challenge I'm willing to accept. So let's just go ahead and see if our T6 fits that or not. And yes, it does. Awesome. So we got their stripped power supply screw out of there. Easy peasy. So let's carry on with this. I think I see something I'm not really happy about, but we will confirm when I get this power supply unscrewed here. Almost looks like the power supply is like not connected underneath. Yeah, it was not. But it doesn't look like there's any damage to the connector there or on the bottom of our power supply here. So all is well. Good, good, good. Let's get the amp out and we will get the reason why this was taken apart taken care of. And of course, since Richard here did most of the hard work for us, we're not going to charge them the full usual repair fee for doing this for them. Okay. The star of the show. What's up, buddy? What you got for us? Date code on our diode of 1748K over there. So I think we all know what to expect when we go and test that. Everything else looks all right. A little bit of dust here and there. Where's my brush? I want to kind of brush that off a little bit here. Yeah, that's a lot better. I can live with that. Okay. Before we do any fixes, let's go ahead and confirm our problem here with our no power. Yeah, if none of those two tests work, I would be pretty positive it's something up with your amplifier board. Like you said, a logic board failure would be pretty strange since it worked for you beforehand. I would strongly suspect some sort of physical damage to the display, or ribbon cables for the display or logic board, or temporarily incorrectly installing the ribbon cables which damaged the logic board, or one of your repairs for the amplifier board may not have gone correctly, and that might be causing your problems. But usually with the ones that briefly power on and then back off like that, that's usually, especially if it worked before and you just poked the amp board a little bit, that sounds an awful lot like some physical damage going on there. Alright, let's see if our diode is dead here. Yes, indeed. So let's go ahead and replace that then. And that'll do. Let's cool this board off real fast, and we will check that it powers on with their power supply. Want to make sure that there's no issues there, and that we've also got no DC offset before we send this back to them. That should do. And then we've got plenty of spare screws we can put this back together with so they don't have to deal with the stripped ones. That's no big deal. Yeah, if you guys need any screws or grommets or odd bits and ends here and there, feel free to reach out to me and I'll hook you up. If it's a small part like screws and rubber bits, I'll just send them to you for the cost of shipping. Don't worry about it. I've got so much of that stuff sitting around. Alright, let's see if we've got power. Of course, the larger stuff and cosmetic bits and electronic components, of course, that stuff I can't give away if I even have them. So just keep that in mind. I'm not a charity, but I do what I can. What do we got? We got power. What do we got? All right, we've got bass and sound. We've got 2 to 3 millivolts of DC offset, which is excellent. So this board is ready to go. Let's put it back into their shell there, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next one. This one will be nice and quick because we've only got half a HomePod to put back together here. So let's drop this amp in. I guess technically, with the math in the title of the video stream here, we don't have 3.5. We've got 2 whole HomePods, because we've got 2 half HomePods and 2 whole HomePods that were, or 1 whole. Wait, math is hard. Yeah, we've got 2 whole HomePods and 2 half HomePods, so in total we've got like 3 whole ones. Okay, let's reconnect that ribbon cable down there. Very good. Let's put that power supply back in. Make sure it's physically connected underneath, and then we will plug that guy back in. Screw this amp or this power supply back down. Oops. Oh, that's right. Okay, for posterity here, this is all they sent us, but I'm going to go ahead and reconnect a subwoofer actually, and a logic board with a display here so we can verify that all of their parts that we got at least are all working as expected before we ship it back to them. So we've got our subwoofer plugged in here. Let's get our logic board connected. And let's go ahead and find that. Actually, we will need to pull this mesh up. So we can find our power cable, or our power connector, right over here. All right, what do we got? Cool, we're still powering up. So we'll wait for that to boot up, and then we'll make sure that the sound comes through nice. What do we got?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check the Home app.
All right, the bass and tweeters are all working. Everything is working. Excellent. So let's disconnect our parts here. And when we ship this back to them, we're gonna pull this mesh back up so it can hopefully kind of go back into its original shape a little bit here. Alright, we'll stick that back into the box. And let's drag over our third repair here today from John with no power. Here we go. Let's see if we can find a way in here. Yes. There's a bunch of fiberglass on my table. I don't like that. Where'd that come from? Who sent me fiberglass? Whomst. I don't want a bunch of itchies. Itchy scratchies. Okay. Here we've got John's pod with no power. Let's go ahead and check our symptoms with a power cable. Yes, indeed, no signs of life there on the top of the pod. And our kilowatt meter here says we're pulling around 6 watts of power. So what that tells us is we've got the most common failure mode for this no power pod here, that being that diode shorting out on the amplifier. The same diode that we've been replacing in all of these pods up to this point, but in this case, it's already failed. So let's get this taken apart. Booyah. Oh man, I just got a notification that I got another package delivered at my UPS mailbox, which means somebody else's HomePod likely just showed up. So let's see if we can wrap up today's repair stream in time for me to run down there and pick that up before they close. Probably not going to fix it today, but we'll get it fixed up tomorrow for them. I just want to figure out whose it is, because UPS, when I receive packages at my UPS mailbox, they just tell me what the tracking number is of the package that I received, and no more information. And so if I take that tracking number and I search in my Gmail, Gmail like pretty much never finds any matching results, even if there's an email from someone where they shared the same tracking number. And that's assuming they do send me the tracking number when it's delivered. A lot of times they just say your package delivered, or package showed up today, and I have no idea who's it from or what its tracking number is. Good times. It's time for the pry. Here we go. Very nice. Click out of 1. Nice click out of 2. Nice click out of 3. 4 is binding. Alright, 4 kind of feels like we've got a false set there, so we'll move on. Five is set. Nice click out of 6, and we're back at the top. And I think we've got it open. And that's what it would sound like if Lockpicking Lawyer opened HomePods. Let's get the subwoofer out. Woofer check. Voice coil looks good and healthy. Feels nice and smooth. Smells like a terrific subwoofer. Like a happy little dude. No roastiness to be smelled. Ooh, tough guy, aren't you? Let's see if you can beat this. Oh! Oh! No! It destroyed the bit on this guy. You are tough, aren't you? Oh no. Oh no. Well, that's ironic. We just fixed Rick's up for the same thing. Get out of here. We just fixed Rick's up for the same screw that stripped out, and here we go. Stripping it in this one. Let's see if we can figure this one out. These are in there. No, that's donezo. Where's my Leatherman? I need some pliers. Where did all my pliers go? Huh. I was looking right at him the whole time. I'm not too concerned about damaging the power supply in here. If I break it, whatever, I've got plenty sitting around to replace it. But I'd like to not need to do that. But we've got some turning action coming out of it, so yeah, it's still not coming out. We're just gonna have to, oh, come on. Little by little. Try not to bump into those tall capacitors right next to it. So I think maybe what we can try doing here now that we've gotten this far, where's my super glue? We're gonna glue the tip of this into that screw. I doubt this is gonna work. There. We'll leave that like that for just a minute. I doubt that's gonna do anything. It's not gonna get a grip. It's not gonna do it. Oh man. Yeah, no, that literally didn't glue together. That's okay. I should have expected that. Let's clean that off. And we'll just keep working at it with our pliers here until it's loose enough to do something else. Boy, that's in there though. My vice grips grab this any better? Oh, my vice grips are broken. That's no bueno. Well, that's okay because it doesn't reach the screw anyways. Let's see if a T7 will fit this now that it's all goobered up. It's still too tight. Gotta work at it with the pliers a little more. What kind of shit did they use to glue this down. Another trick that we can use is a slightly larger flathead. Nope, those were all still too big. This one's probably going to be too small. Yeah. What else have we got in here? We got this gnarly looking thing. Yeah, but it's still not loose enough. All right, if that doesn't come out with a screwdriver, then I don't know what will. Yes. 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 Fuck out of here. Freaking poser. All right. Tough parts out of the way. We can resume our regularly planned repairs here and proceed with removal of this amplifier. All right, the main event. What have we got? No power? That's right. Let's do a quick inspection all around the board. We've got a date code on our diode of 1748K. So again, I think if you've been watching long enough, you won't be surprised when we go to test that, what the results will be. Look at that, 1748K. Place your bets, place your bets. It's dead. Let's pull that old diode off and get it replaced. That'll do. Let's cool this board off real fast and we'll give it a test. All right, let's grab our power. Ribbon cable. Lock it in. Logic board. Subwoofer. Multimeter. Power cable. And power. Very nice. It's working! Do we have any offset? Ah, excellent. We've got basically, well, we've got about 2 millivolts of DC offset, which is well within the spec. So that means that this board is ready to go. Let's get it put back into their pod and we'll move on to the last repair for today. Yeah, no kidding. Even more amazing to see how many of these are failing and Apple not doing anything about it. Still no dice with AirPlay HomeKit with the mic and display removed. Interesting. Yeah, I would be double checking your work then, I guess. If there's no damage to any of those cables. It would be really nice if you had spare parts so that you could just confirm with like a good logic board that your amplifier is the source of the problem, and that it's not like your logic board just coincidentally decided to bite the dust when you went to go repair it. If shipping isn't too expensive for you, you can ship these parts into me and I can take a look at it, see what's going on. Really, I just need your amplifier board and your logic board to see what's going on. But otherwise, I would, as sort of like a Hail Mary, I would just go over all of everything that you've replaced or repaired or touched on your board. I would just go over it one more time, just remove them, redo your pads, put them back on, make sure everything is on there nice and solid. Alright, the final piece. Alright, got that nice and stuck down. Let's get it plugged in, smack it around a little, and you got yourself some power. Alright, what do we got?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Aren't we all?
I'm having...
Volume buttons light up nice and even. Sounds good. Everything checks out on John's pod here. So let's put that away. And grab our third and our fourth repair for the day from Tor, with some prior repair attempts on their amplifier board for their HomePod. Looks like they're having some sound issues. So let's open that box up. Let's just make sure we don't have any info. There we go. So they're just pointing out where the blown resistor was and what they replaced so far. But essentially what we've got going on here it looks like, yep, our 10 ohm resistor for the subwoofer right here is missing completely, so we'll get that replaced. Let's look at our power diode over here. They didn't replace that, so we're going to go ahead and do that. It's got a date code of 1742K. And here are their capacitors that they replaced. So I think we're going to replace those first. Yeah, let's go ahead and replace those caps there first with some ones that we know where they came from, we know their specs, we know what torture they've been through. Let's get those old ones off. Get out of here. I also want to see if there's any damage under any of these as well. Doesn't look like it, but we shall see. Doesn't look like anything is missing from this area either. So that's good. And then I just want to compare with another amp just to be sure there isn't anything missing here. No, everything looks to be where it should. Very good. So let's go ahead and touch up these pads with some fresh low melt solder. There we go. Let's position our new capacitors. Get those put back on. Oh, like magic. How's that looking? Pretty fresh. Nothing connected that shouldn't be connected to something else. Alright, let's get this resistor here replaced. Or should I say, let's get a new one put on there since there isn't an old one on there to replace. Excellent. New resistor on there. Let's remove our heat shield. Alright, last but not least, I want to replace this power diode here. It has nothing to do with any of their sound issues, but it is the original diode, so I want to get that replaced to prevent any power issues. Beautiful. Let's cool this board off for just a minute, and then we will see if we've gotten everything on this board working. Not quite sure what to think here. Not sure what my guess is. I'm going to go ahead and say 60% chance this works and there's no issues. 40% chance we still don't have any bass. So let's plug this into power. Plug in our logic cable and lock that down. Power connector, subwoofer, multimeter for offset, and power. What do we got? What do we got? Bass? We got bass. We got our bass, boys. Let me grab my cellular device and we will just play some quick test tunes. Make sure it's all in working order. Very nice. No clipping. That rattling you hear is just the subwoofer, working in free air. It's going to sound a little gnarly, but we don't have any clipping, and it sounds fantastic. All right. Wondering if one of the diode pads might be damaged. It doesn't look ripped, but it's not cleaning up very well. If you want, let me double check and see here what those pads have continuity with, and then you can test and make sure that your pads also have continuity to these components here. So let's find out. So if you have the diode facing you like we do here, the top left pin of this diode should have continuity with the bottom pin of this big capacitor above it. Same with the other pad. Both of these two pads on the top of the diode should have continuity with the pad on the bottom of this big capacitor. Let me see if I can get you up close so you can see a little better. And that'll tell you if you have continuity between those pads, then your diode pads are probably fine. But let me get up close here and show you what I mean. So, both of these little pads up here on the top of this diode, both of them should have continuity with the bottom pad of this cap right here. If they don't, then you've probably got some damage on your pad there. Also check and make sure that these tiny pads up here are not shorting to ground. Actually, hold on. I'm pretty sure those pads should be ground. Let me double check here for you. Okay, yep. So those two pads, at the tiny little pads at the top, should also be connected to ground. The big pad on the bottom of the diode should not be connected to ground. But, anyways, folks, we got everything fixed up today that was sent in. If you have any questions on any of the repairs that we've done here today, feel free to leave a comment down below. Get out of here. If you need any more information on doing your own repairs or contacting me to send yours in for repair, you're welcome to check out my website, nixfix.com, where I've got a section for common issues and information on doing your own repairs, or hitting me up to send it in to be repaired here on the channel. Both short to the cap and ground. All right, good. That's a good sign, Eric. Let me know. Yeah, feel free to shoot me an email update with what you find as you continue your rework there. But for everybody else, I hope you all enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm going to run to UPS and pick up that other package that was late today. So